You don't need me to tell you you've got a pretty special scene here. So enjoy it, keep feeding it. And thank you for having us. I'll start with this little invocation poem from my first book. It's called Of Mule and Deer, and it's in the voice of the mule. Out of a tin cold, murmuring black wood, lightly you lope, pale deer, lifting a story from pages of snow. Nothing turns in your eye, they say. Toward the tin cold and murmuring black wood, I bear a display case of blue light. Say it was the sky. Say all you want, it was the sky. This is history as a war of poses, and there's a reference in the middle of it, or kind of early on, to this old French novel, the title of which is translated as Against Nature. It's a decadent novel. And the main character is this nobleman named Ahsahta, and he begins the novel by throwing a wake for his virility. Yeah, I think that's all you need to know. History as a war of poses. Ah, kiss from you, love. Then the planted field of eucalyptus, seeping into gold, cow dust, molten car hoods in the freeways of California fall. Just over is the ocean. But among these peeling, white stocking legs of eucalyptus is one way I never thought about my father, as I had of Ahsahta appearing from among the black silks, the black wools of the wake for his fresh dead virility, poising a piece of blackberry meat between his teeth. The finest hip in Europe, opium cooked, laid down as the next salvo in history as a war of poses. Hector and I, in his pickup, claim the desert of California as our relative end. Then interrupt a white boy shooting cans by the off-road trail. The poem, which is the vehicle for the hero, is in the thousand, in the impossibly, in the five-starred night, in the sow. For us cousins, it's in the idea of the white boy who comes from stories of wolf mother teats and jackal father pistols, goat fucking under the above-mentioned night, from cowboys, the squinting horizon-trained, barren, sun-bleached stone landscape eyes of cowboys. I write now from a hotel above the center of Texas. I see Walmart's distribution center, bigger than anything. The xenon flood lamps at its loading bays give such beams as to seem levers to pry the thing a foot or so above itself. I know something about race and something about sex, and I obey the market imperative to keep things moving. But it's such a beautiful giant. You can bother with the critique. All men, I think, have a favorite war. Mine is the incessant flinging of the Red Army at Berlin. 10,000 defending Soviets dead every day. I had been trying to give my sex to men and women since I was a kid. So at first, when she wanted me, I could hardly say anything that wasn't, "Look at you, wanting me." Carols. I only care that you love my country. Coffee in the street, invitations into unknown homes, kisses on the copper penny bridge, the bridge, take them. I only care that you love, she says to her American. Hammocks, hillocks, porcelain ducks floating down the river. Testicles like oyster onions floating down the river. There were no torturers. We sang carols of comfort and joy, and irons polished for the winter's wood. Go devils, we would ride back home, I told her. Breakneck, breakneck. These explanations in Yugoslavia, Podgorica, over the river Ribnica, most fair. Talk. I am Moroccan today. I carry my backpack full of Kleenex, 50 packs across Sicily. I memorized their 13 variations of the latest haircut. The shoes I will buy will raise me, incline me, as the whole of Europe is inclined this summer. I learn everything about women from Fendi handbags, from Puma pants, everything about men. I am a boy of 11, or why not a skinny 13, and I ask the waiter, are you Irish? Since this is the Irish cafeteria in Caltanissetta, Sicily. Here are my young Italians who won't buy the Kleenex. The one woman takes me for a beggar and I get a €0.5, not bad, I'd have said in Tangiers on my way out of Africa. Aren't we all moving out of Africa? And nothing, not the dry grass of Sicily, reminds me of it. I learned about little leather tags on jeans in Africa. There goes the cowhide, I'd say. There goes the cow. And I smelled the people's evaporating hotel soaps. It's June in Sicily, and the skies are gray with field smoke. We can have some fun. My Sicilians laugh. I take their mobile phones, make as if I'm going to steal one scooter helmet, cock it jauntily on my head. I am playing with their fear of me. I am dancing to the American songs. It is hot, so everything must be funny. Talk. I am Sicilian today when the skies are gray with field smoke. I share a cigarette with my friends. Nothing is new to me. I've ridden over 3 hills to get here, and here they are at the Irish again. I love this city, and I can walk its length and breadth when it's cooler, its lights, the road back from Lido Neptuno. All we talk about is leaving, but I know they love, like I love, threading our parents' cars between a salt or phosphor truck and the oncoming car. I know the tolerances of our Fiat, and I love the stupid, unnecessary hugs my boyfriend gives and how we smell each other. I think everything happens beneath the cover of something else, something prettier. Now there are Arab African boys everywhere. Where have the gypsies gone? And can the gypsies love anything like I love Caltanissetta, the vests on their own backs? I don't need the kids' Kleenex. My nose is dry in these fires. But I give one €1 and he stays at our table, plays at taking our cell phones and helmets. Who would you call? What would you ride? He plays with our fear of his thievery. I think it's sad. And beneath that, our sort of friendship. And beneath that, his thievery. Cairn. There are lights above Airport Boulevard, Rambeau, but none of them on strings. We give over control to the steward, the stewardess, and the goddamn communism of flying. I am given the complimentary magazine and I'm made optimistic about the new Bond, a more aggressive brow. Television, though, is not happening. Not in the headset before me, not anywhere. In the ad spot, a Subaru goes all around. over hills, through ice, disturbing a thin layer of rain upon the road. Clip your English, boy. The snows are white and all over the valley. The plane spins itself into the narrower spaces ahead. Poor New York, I think. Poor Titanic. But look at me, I'm flying over Colorado's resistant minerals, standing up in buttes. My neighbor's farts turn and turn in my nostrils. They make me a little carrier, a little urn for his death. Poor New Orleans. Poor everyone. There is no nothingness. The dials in the cockpit turn, are turned. There is no world. There is a world. If you stand at all, you stand against it. I think I'll leave this book with this poem. It's called, I Remember Voices Saying Voda Than the Felt of Their Tents. It's a quotation from the conceptual artist Joseph Beuys. And Beuys came up with a story about being shot down in World War II as a Nazi and being saved by some folks who wrapped him in felt and lard. It's been a long time since I read it, so I'll try it. I remember voices saying voda, which meant water, than the felt of their tents. And it's an address to the artist, Joseph Beuys. Look at our pairs of feet in the basins, Joe. Your European toe, my American slope. The hair goes inside the earth to come up again and bound. And in our bottles, water. And in our vinyl records, all the trees of Ross Avenue shaking into spring. Everything you promise can course through its proximate material. Joe, when I was a kid, my best friend's mother had this gorilla coat I used to beg to wear. Its longer hairs at my wrists made a fringe, and under the shoulder, a lining of bees, dancing out directions toward what I might make of anything. That distance, across which your call stretches, Joe, pour the water. Our feet have borne the heat of their day, carry in the grooves of their souls the dust of our floors. This oil leaked out our sedans and trucks onto the road. Of blacks, Mark Furman, hosted by Fox News, says, quote, I dealt with people like this for 20 years. They will get up every day. They will go kill somebody and go have some chicken at KFC. It's hilarious. I mean, hysterical, Joe, to try it in America. The hair is allowed entry in the earth by the slope of its head. There are adaptations. Don't worry, Joe. I don't believe your story of felt and voda. There are adaptations. You found the Tartars of Crimea inside. The water, Joe, stretch your toes now. Hasn't someone poured it into the basins? Don't the silt and sweat and molting skins of our feet turn away from our feet and into the water? Don't they make a fine milk? Everyone, you said, went to church, and everyone went to the Hitler Jugend. Then your mouth ranged across the things of this world to learn their materials and test what these could carry. If I turn on my radio, will I find your radio? If I give you a clown, will you give me a shaman? There was a time in Dallas tonight when the sky was a purple water and the bare oak trees soaking in it were a tracery of black paper. Panter Tanter is the Swedish translation for the title of the show, The Golden Girls. And Panter Tanter in Swedish means the Panther Ladies. And everything here is real. There are some lines stolen from D.H. Lawrence, from Alan Dugan, and there's a description, a little bit of a description of a James Dickey poem called The Eye Beaters, and it's about going to a school for the blind, and the little kids, he says, beat their own eye sockets to flash neurons in their heads. And it's an address to Abdul, who helped me sell my car in Dallas to one of those big lots that'll take any car. Panter Tanter, Abdul from Kenya is real. We'll make a fire tomorrow. How many names could they have? The eye beaters, blind kids Dickey used. You want to defend them from his program. Some tea and the adults would just watch the kids. In Saudi, we rented 2 fields they could play soccer. In Human Face, you ask my son, would he rather live in Kenya or Plano? He says Saudi. Plano is a suburb of Dallas, I should have said. My mom would have been Rose, Abdul. My aunt would have been Dorothy. Full nose, Buick vinyl, clip-ons, pastels, woman face. Abdul wants to make community. I say, of course, let me tell you, I'd have done drugs less had my mom and aunt gone to their water like fishes who don't care. The kids punch their little fists right into their eyes to flash a light against the walls of their brains, Dickey wanting you prime, to see you and the credit cards in your wallet when you visited, the nerve of the poem, trying to be your blind face. I would have been Blanche, the slutty one. We'll make a fire tomorrow. You see, if you just write what you know, you won't use anybody. Is power qua power? The Kenyans in Plano will go to the mosque. Everybody is one in prayers, but they won't make the effort to make the image. At least my son bikes there in 3 minutes. Since they opened the basketball court, I know he's safe. Rose of St. Olaf knows to gather here where we are now. Once a week so the kids wouldn't listen to Prince and believe sex is a techne for exceeding oneself. In Plano, everyone is to just themselves. You make plans, you call that day, say, hey, we're coming your way. They say no. Image flash. So bad, they'd take the hurt. Tough truths to give your readers. Too bad. Art must be terrible or beautiful, but never cute. Dorothy said, she got used to this country. We need to be Kenyan together, but everyone is always alone, just themselves in their house. It was Blanche's house. Had they not arrived there, had they not needed one another? The market swirled the night above the lanai to dissolve the stars. The kids beat their eyes to deal. You want to protect their dignity, always increased or preserved by a good poem one uses. But everyone is always alone, just themselves in their house, Abdul. You find the image you need. Everything stolen is here for you. And I will close with this poem called My Daughter Providence. It references Rilke's poem, The Spanish Trilogy, which ends with this beautiful but really problematic romanticizing image of the Spanish shepherd who is so at peace with his being that a god would not be diminished, Rilke says, by entering the shepherd's form, and that the shepherd holds a lamp in the night. And Rilke ends the poem with a line in translation that reads something like, may death more easily find its way. And there's also a reference to the Gospel of John, which I'm sure many of you know is kind of the oddball gospel in the New Testament and refers to Jesus as glory sometimes with a capital G. And Jesus is constantly asking after he performs miracles across all the Gospels. What do the people say about me? And it's addressed to our daughter. My daughter Providence, lamp in the night, still, shepherds each thing poised, whole topography poised, bud leaf and slipping, husk bark poised, Rilke's form courts death, all down the yellow perpetual fire hills of Spain or California. Try to remember you can always just sit down, no matter the habits or confusions. We can bring you to the coast cypresses one day. Down there, the jellyfish are thinking hard about you. Animal, oyster, roe, beef. Wrapped in a warm feeling, fearing you, glory needs to know what people say about the prophet exactly outside still water and dough piss and reed straws sucking the lagoon up inside themselves to share in life. The people say, sprinkle the unused words to the bottom. The people say, we are as good as each feathered tip of brush grass reaching into the wind. The shoreline is exploding all over the waves. Leaves are hungry. I can tell you about it. I'm trying hard to not forget the lyric part, the noise you'll welcome as a twin, the faster cymbals ringing all down the hill. The ocean swills in from the south, one wave by the arch rock, the next on its shoulder, so on to the point. The point lifts them up. There are holy women somewhere alive with your techne, with your name. Mary, meant of the sea, though nothing is still. Thank you.